Alright, I'm back in the WoW, continuing on in part 2 from part 1, um, talking about casual sex, friends and benefits, and infidelity. I was discussing in part 1 towards the end about married couples in the church, how they're living in sexual immorality and adultery as well. That basically being in the pagan church is that, it's not of the Lord, so basically everything that the preachers and pastors are teaching about marriage is part lies and part truth. And it's basically the reason why a lot of these married people who are in the churches are, still committing these sins and stuff. And here's a passage that I wanted to bring up with you guys, as I said towards the end. I'm in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 4, and it says here, marriage is an honorable among all, and the bed undefiled, but fornicators and adulterers God will judge. And I'll read that again. Marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled, but fornicators and adulterers God will judge. Now, as I was saying, for a lot of these married people in the churches, a lot of these married people, they're still going through, situations in their life because you have the husbands who's committing adultery, who's having casual sex. We're still on casual sex topic. A lot of these husbands are living in sin and adultery, casual sex with, various different women, and a lot of these husbands as well are having casual sex with men as well. So, as I was saying, people, don't feed into like marriages and stuff like that, because marriage isn't what it's really cracked up to be if it's not ordained by the Lord, and if it's not really, a saved marriage, then basically there's still going to be sins in the marriage and stuff. And the crazy part about it is that a lot of people today who are in fornication and stuff, that they'll try to get away from that sin, is that what they'll do, because they like fornicating so much and having, sex, is that they'll find someone to marry and they'll get married, and then you'll have a married couple who's just constantly having sex and having sex and having sex. And it comes to the point to whereas, the married couple is that they'll get a third party involved, or they'll sneak and go behind and they'll sleep with, their husband's friends or whatever, or the husband will sleep with the wife's friends or something like that, or whatever. And that's basically what's going on in these marriages, is that there's just a lot of adultery going on. And at the same time, we're going to go into the topic about friends with benefits. You have these married people who have basically side bitches, and basically what a lot of these husbands is that with their friends with benefits is that they'll have, like a mistress basically, and she would be someone who the husband would just basically sleep with on the side, and it's just basically no strings attached, there's no emotions basically, and basically a lot of times that's where a husband will turn to. And for a lot of marriages out there that aren't really working out because there's a lot of sexual frustration, or there's no really satisfaction in the marriage sexually. In one aspect, I'm not saying that's in all marriages, but sometimes there can be, sexual friction and frustration in it, to where the wives will, find themselves a secondary outlet, which is another man just to sleep with, because they're not being pleasured enough, or they're just not happy, within their marriage basically. Or the husband will do the same thing, with another woman, cheating on the wife and stuff like that, with friends with benefits and stuff. And also, it's not just in marriages, it's also in so-called committed relationships. You have, a man and woman that are in a couple, that are couples basically, and a lot of times is that on the side, they'll just have like a double life, and basically they'll have their girlfriends or their boyfriends, and at the same time they'll have 2 or 3 other girlfriends on the side basically. So again, with the friends with benefits, it's another thing that, it shouldn't be practiced. It should be avoided at all costs, because you have to understand, people, sex is a really powerful thing, and you have to, when you're spiritual, you would understand this, but a lot of people don't. But, whenever you have sex with someone casually or whatever's inside that person is being released onto you. So whatever curses or demons or sins that man or woman is dealing with, they're releasing it onto you. And at the same time is that, anytime a man comes inside you, basically it's all impurities that's being released onto you. And a lot of these men, they sleep with so many women, and a lot of these women are cursed too, and pagans as well, and they'll bring all the curses that he's received from these women back to their girlfriends or their wives. So ladies, it's really important that that you just be mindful of what's really going on in this world, and be mindful that that your boyfriend or your husband could be cheating. And I think it's really important for you ladies out there that if you're going to sleep with a man, which I would not encourage at all, just to make sure that this man has, been tested for HIV or AIDS or anything, and have him show you some paperwork. For you ladies who are in relationships with men, and you notice that your man is always just wanting sex, and if you find your man suspicious of cheating, that's another reason why it's important to, have him be tested for AIDS or HIV, because you'd be very surprised with, the consequences of, these curses from the Lord that's given to these people who are committing fornication, who are committing adultery, in regards to, casual sex, and being in, who are being in an, friends with benefits relationship. Now, getting back to, marriage and stuff, I want to discuss infidelity, because there's a lot of infidelity that's, going on within the marriages and stuff like that, and it's a very serious thing, because it's a reason why that, people nowadays, people are just divorcing like crazy, just divorcing, because what you got to understand is that you met this person, whatever, online or in the streets. You never took the time to build a mutual connection with this person. You were fucking this person, and stuff like that. And a lot of times, when you guys want to decide to, come together as one and be married, you don't understand is that, you came together in sin, you came together in fornication, you came together in lust. And a lot of times, relationships that come together, or marriages that come together in lust, or in sin, or people that get together from adultery, it's a cursed relationship, it's a cursed marriage. And a lot of you women today are just in these cursed relationships, and you're in these cursed marriages that you really need to get out of it, basically. And like I said, ladies, today's men, it's just really sad, because it's very difficult for any of you women out there to find a man who's genuinely interested in you and stuff, because you have a lot of these men out there who are so cursed and so gone behind fornication and casual sex. It's to the point to where they're just empty inside, so they just got to feed, the sex spirits and these sex demons and these lusts. So they'll just basically try to get as many nuts as they can out of you and out of all the other girls that he's possibly talking to and stuff, which is why a lot of these men can't stay committed, because they're too busy wanting sex, they're too busy trying to get a nut, basically. So while they're with you, at the same time, they could be out with someone else, and it leads to a love triangle. It leads to, women spazzing out, acting crazy. And a lot of people don't understand is that people commit murder over this kind of stuff, because that's how sex is so powerful, and that's how love is so powerful as well. Because people, it can just drive someone crazy to whereas, they want to hurt someone or they want to, kill someone basically over these kinds of things and stuff. This becomes the price of consequences, being in a cursed relationship or a cursed marriage. And there's a lot of infidelity, that's in these marriages and stuff. And, it's just really sad, ladies. And I would just encourage you, ladies, basically, if you're married, to a husband who is unfaithful, and that he's cheating on you, and that you guys, only got married just to get out of receiving judgment from the Lord, a lot of you ladies just need to basically just get out of these marriages and stuff like that. Because even the Bible, it says that, divorcing someone other than sexual immorality, that's basically fine and stuff like that. So a lot of you, just make sure that if you are going to leave, your husband, make sure that it's, you're leaving him because, he's being sexually immoral or he's committing adultery. That's the time that you leave a marriage and stuff like that. And for a lot of you ladies who are in a relationship with these men, is that like I said, there's plenty of men out there. You're not beholden to any man in this world ever. You can always get out of these cursed relationships and stuff. But the sad thing about it is that a lot of women today is that they're afraid to be alone. They're, afraid to make it out on their own, and they're being way too dependent on men. And a lot of times I tell these women is that seek independence as opposed to seeking the independent one. That's what I always say. Don't depend on any man to give you what you want. It's time, for you ladies to be more independent and stop using the pussy to be put on the man, just so you can get your rent or your bills paid or get your hair and your nails did. Because that's a lot of women today. They're using the pussy, just to get what they want. And a lot of men look at that. I was like, okay, they can play along basically. And a lot of times, most of the time, what these men will do is that they'll give you some dick and they'll give you some money, whatever here and there. And sometimes they won't give you any money. Sometimes they'll just fuck you and that's it, and just leave you where you're at. So, like I said, women, it's time for you to start putting yourself at a higher standard, and it's time to start knowing your worth. And it's time that you start being more independent, and it's time that you start getting in the scriptures and that you become more spiritual and getting closer to the Lord. And also another passage that I want you ladies to look into is 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verses 3-5. It reads here, "For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you should abstain from sexual immorality, that each of you should know how to possess his own vessel in sanctification and honor, not in the passion of lust like the Gentiles who do not know God." Now, like I said, people, as I was saying in this video and the last video, it's about knowing the Lord, and it's about getting closer to the Lord. And that basically that you should know how to possess your own vessel in sanctification and in honor, and also your body being a temple in the Holy Spirit, ladies. So what I just want to say, ladies, is that it's time that you just start putting yourself at a higher standard. It's time that you start knowing your worth. It's time that you stop chasing after these men, because like I said, men will be here to the day you die, but everlasting life with the Lord, the Father, and the Son, Yeshua, is everlasting, and what's more important. So you got to ask yourself, is what's more important, getting closer to the Lord or getting closer to a man who's not going to give you everything that you deserve, ladies? Because you ladies do deserve everything in the world. You deserve a good man, but at the same time, you have to wait for him. You have to wait for him to come to you, ladies. Stop begging the God to send you, Mr. Right or the perfect man, because like I said, there's no such thing as a perfect man except for the Lord who walked this earth years and years ago. But what the Lord will send to you, if you be faithful to the Lord, and if you keep in your word, and if you become more spiritual, and that you get more closer to the Lord, he will send you your ordained husband. And once he does that, you'll know when it's time. But like I said, a lot of you worldly women out there is that you don't know how to wait on the Lord. You don't know how to wait for the right man, because you're too busy trying to want. You're too busy wanting more than you can handle and stuff. Sometimes the Lord won't send you, a decent man if you don't got your shit together. So, if you're not independent, if you're not working, if you're not building, any foundations for the Lord's kingdom and stuff, how do you expect for him to bless you and stuff? That's my thing. And I think a lot of times you women out there is that you're so cursed with the curse, with being afraid to be lonely and afraid to walk alone. You're just so desperate just to get with any man that you can meet. But what's the point of being with a man if he's not going to give you everything that you deserve? A man who's not going to give you security, a man who's not going to give you trust, a man who's not going to give you stability and stuff like that. It's like you women really don't understand these certain things, that a lot of things that you guys are going after in life don't come easy and stuff. And I think a lot of you women at times is that you're looking to get into the fast life. You're trying to get ahead. You're trying to get a man, who's prosperous and who has something going for themselves and stuff. And I think a lot of women, the problem with you, a lot of women, the problem with you women is that you're chasing after the wrong things, and you're chasing after the wrong men, and you're attracting the wrong attention and stuff. So, like I said, it's all about how you present yourself. Are you presenting yourself as a woman of the Lord, or are you presenting yourself as someone who is trying to be like Nicki Minaj or Beyonce or Kim Kardashian? How are you presenting yourself, and how are you living up to what's appropriate in far as standards as a young woman of the Lord? So I'm just saying, ladies, it's just time. It's time that, just get your mind focused on what's more important. Like I said, put the Lord first before everything, because the Lord is supposed to be first and second to none, ladies, and that's always true. The Lord becomes before your men. The Lord comes before your family. The Lord comes before your friends. The Lord comes before all your material things and all your possessions that you're looking to obtain, or the things that you have in life already. The Lord comes before all of that. And in order to receive the blessings from the Lord and to receive an ordained man in your life, it's time that you start focusing more of your time on him and not focus on time on these worldly men out here. Because if you don't focus more of your time on him, you're going to continue to remain in cursed relationships and cursed marriages. You're going to continue to have that curse of being lonely and have that curse of not being on your own, learning how to be on your own and how to prevail and how to overcome things.